Hi guys, this is gsmdown.com and I'm here with the Allview X3 Soul Plus for a full review. This phone is the locally integrated version of the Gionee S6 Pro, which debuted in June, and we're reviewing right here at gsmdown.com. It's a mid-range, higher-end phone that wants to be a Samsung Galaxy A rival, which is also shown through its design and its specs. It's a metal phone from 2016, it's priced at $300, and we've already tested quite a few models from the Allview X3 Soul family, like the X3 Soul, X3 Soul Mini, X3 Soul Lite, Style and Pro, so we're very familiar with this brand. It's an USB Type-C handset that has a front fingerprint scanner and comes in gold, at least the version we're testing. The motto of the phone is no boundaries, so let's see what the design is about. It's supposed to be made 97% of metal, and it kind of delivers. It comes in gold and looks a bit like the Samsung Galaxy A from the front and like a Huawei model, let's say, from the back. It measures 7.6 millimeters in thickness, which is reasonably slim, and weighs a pretty hefty 175 grams. It's about 3 grams heavier than the Samsung Galaxy A7 2016, and it's also 0.3 millimeters thicker, so pretty much the same thing, only without glass. Speaking of glass, there is a 2.5D glass panel at the front, and the phone is solid. It has a solid build. It uses premium materials, and I mean metal here, and there are interesting color bands, as you can well see. This blue band going all the way around the sides. We got one at the back and also another one at the front. Looks very hot and it's quite original, even in spite of the fact I tested so many phones. We got comfy buttons on this side here. Ergonomics are good, although don't expect to be using the phone with a single hand because it's kind of long and kind of wide. It's a 5.5 incher with an unibody metal case, narrow screen edges, and the facade will not smudge from prints, so that's a good thing. In the end, it remains a well-built and elegant phone, and we proceed to the display. What we're dealing with here is an IPS LCD Full HD unit with a 5.5 inch diagonal and in-cell touch technology, as well as a 2.5D panel. Narrow bezels, Gorilla Glass 3 protection, and a video player you may be familiar with if you saw our recent reviews of Allview or Gionee handsets. So let's check out the usual test sample, and here we go. Options include DTS acoustics, pop-up play option, and of course aspect, while the actual experience involves a bright screen, OK colors, wide view angles, and a not so impressive contrast in the sunlight. I'm also happy that there is no big and black bezel around the image like it happened on other phones. And now let's see what the screen gave us in our tests. So here we go. The screen has an RGB stripes pixel setup, and then we used the lux meter and achieved 382 lux units, which is not very high considering today's expectations. I would have preferred 400 lux, but anyway, it's 1 lux more than the Sony Xperia Z5 Premium, and it beats the HTC One M9 and LG G5 at least. It's good for use indoors rather than outdoors, and this brightness is below the one of the Allview X3 Soul Style and X3 Soul Mini, which are relatives of this phone, and they're lower priced than this phone, and still they have better brightness, so that's a bit of a bummer. Now in the settings department, you can go to the display section and tweak adaptive brightness, economical backlight, font style and size, wallpaper, sleep, daydream and skylight. Keep in mind there is no color to set up here, and overall the screen did not feel very impressive. Now as far as the rest of the hardware goes, we're dealing with a pretty classical setup that does not sound bad. Inside the phone there is a MediaTek Helio P10 processor. It's an octa-core unit at 1.8 GHz, and it uses Cortex A53 cores. The GPU is a Mali T860, and we also get 4 GB of RAM. Quite impressive on a higher mid-range phone. And then there's 32 GB of storage and a microSD card slot replacing one of the SIM slots. Luckily there is no lag here, the phone functions like a charm. You can have a ton of apps open in the background and you open a new one, no problem whatsoever. Games also ran okay, gave us no problem and no headache, including Riptide GP Renegade, the latest iteration in the Benchmark Racing series. And let's restore the save. Yes. You can turn the graphics all the way up and enjoy the cool effects of simply racing around on a hovercraft. Okay, here we go. We're using tilt, but you can also use touch if you don't like this setup. The water looks very nice, controls are very intuitive, nice lighting effects, all the textures are a-okay, and we just bumped into the wall. There's no lag, no delay, no messed up texture, and everything is perfectly rendered. Not my favorite control setup, that's for sure. I prefer the touch experience to the tilt one, and here we go. Okay, now that gaming checks out, time to discuss the benchmarks as usual. So we go to the gallery and screenshots, and let's talk a bit about Quadrant first. Let's find it. So here we go. This is Quadrant and this is our result. This places us below the Allview X3 Soul style, while in Antutu 6, let's find it as well. Here we go. In Antutu 6 we managed to score 1000 points above the Motorola Moto G4 or Lenovo Motorola Moto G4 if you want, and 5000 points above the Samsung Galaxy A5 2016. Not bad, but still below the Allview X3 Soul Pro. In Geekbench 3 we were placed rather low if you ask me. We were at around the level of the HTC One A9, but below it, and also below the Moto G4, but at least above the LG G4. I expected just a bit more considering we have so much RAM and a pretty solid processor. When it comes to the temperature, we achieved 35.8 degrees Celsius after running the intensive benchmark GFX bench, and when running the new game, keep in mind, new game, Riptide GP Renegade, we jumped over the limit of overheating, which is 40 degrees, we got to 42.8. It only gets slightly hot, not overheating, so not exactly a huge problem here. Browser wise, this is the pre-installed browser. If you're not happy with its performance, there's always going to be Chrome pre-installed. As you can see, the speed is not great and the benchmarks are rather poor. I mean SunSpider, Velamo and the works, and the keyboard is the stock one from Marshmallow. Now battery wise, this phablet has a 3130 mAh lithium polymer unit. On paper should provide us with 890 minutes of talk time. Now let's see how it handled our test, which involves HD video playback in a loop, 9 hours and 44 minutes, which is quite good, especially for such a thickness below 8 mm. Anyway, with this duration we beat the LG V10 and HTC 10, but we scored below the HTC One M8 and the Allview X3 Soul Pro. PC Mark is also here, simulating continuous usage, and here we scored 7 hours and 18 minutes, which is also a very good result. We beat the Nexus 6P and Huawei P9 Lite, but scored below the Allview X3 Soul Pro or the V2 Viper X. Charging is done in 2 hours and 22 minutes, which is quite okay, superior to the Lenovo Vibe X3, for example. Settings for the battery are available as well, and manage battery here. We got power manager, and you can choose from normal mode, power saving mode with this dark theme option, extreme power saving mode with a black and white interface, and smart power saving at night, as well as battery optimization, which is pretty much Marshmallow's dose. Overall, I'd say the battery is one of the best things about the phone, especially considering the thickness. And now let's move on to the acoustics. We got DTS acoustics here, and although we have two grills at the bottom, only the right one is the actual speaker. This one is only for the purpose of symmetry. Now, if you've seen our reviews of Allview and locally integrated Gionee phones, you already know this player, you're familiar with its options that include this DTS option, special settings for the headphones, tweaks for various music genres, and these 5 sliders that will feel right at home for any user of an Android player. Okay, so let's actually listen to some tunes like this one. Okay, so as you just heard for yourself, quite a good speaker, loud, clear, no distortion, good guitar, nice bass, good high notes, and of course no muffling. There's nothing to cover on a flat surface. The speakers are at the bottom this time, or better said, speaker. We did a decibel meter test as usual, and it confirmed what we suspected, which means we got a very good speaker. 85.8 decibels at the front and back. It beats the Galaxy S7 and iPhone 6, and that says it all. But still, it's below the LG G5 if you want to find a flaw in the system. The headphones are the same as we've seen on other Gionee and Allview handsets. They're comfy, they're loud, have a good bass, loud and clear, and they help you connect to the FM radio, which is this app here, and it lets you record stuff from the radio. Okay, good acoustics, nothing to object here. Time to proceed to the camera. We close up some apps and open the camera from the get-go to see just how fast it gets going. As you can see, it opened up pretty fast, and the experience will be very familiar. So first things first, we got the 13 megapixel back shooter here, which is exactly the same sensor. Sony IMX258 from the OnePlus X, Xperia XA, and the Allview X3 Soul style. f2.0 aperture, face detection autofocus, and at the front we got an 8 megapixel camera for the selfies. Interface totally familiar. We got geotagging, picture size, countdown, capture mode and anti-banding, and a huge number of modes. Super Photo takes a shot 5 times the regular one with interpolation, pic note, mood photo, GIF, smart scan, panorama, slow motion, macro, night, time-lapse, text recognition, HDR, smart scene and professional, which offers you extra options like exposure, ISO, white balance, shutter, and of course there's also focus. The latest options you're going to use will be set up here. We also have effects, obviously, and video can be shot up to Full HD, and those are its associated options. Now, as far as the actual camera experience goes, we got a pretty fluid zoom, surprisingly okay focus speed. Usually some mid-rangers disappoint us focus-wise, and picture taking I felt was also pretty fast. Now let's go to the gallery and see if this phone delivered or not. We have for you over 100 shots taken during the day and during the night, and some of them contain donuts, so be wary of craving. Okay, so this gallery includes a sunny day in the mountains, and some of the shots were a bit too bright. They were slightly burnt, especially around the corners and the edges where the sun came and the dynamic range couldn't handle it. Some pretty nifty close-ups with nice details here and there, but the burn sneaked its way onto some of the shots. In general, I was happy with the quality, clarity. We did not register burnt shots, and I mean not hugely burnt, just burnt in areas, I mean corners and the top side and the sky maybe, and this HDR washed out the image a bit, but there's also another HDR that did a finer job. So happy with the colors, the clarity and the details. Just check out this bee's butt with a stinger. Probably the first photo where I actually saw the stinger of a bee without it stinging me. Okay, this has got to be the best shot I've taken with this phone, period. We got a clown who's all colorful, we got balloons and a lot of details. You can keep zooming in all you want. You'll be very happy with the details, colors, clarity, whatever. Once again, dynamic range problems here. When the light sneaks in the frame, things aren't good. These are indoor shots. I was not happy with them because it took me a lot to focus properly on the food. Okay, let's see what else. A bunch of posters, as usual, quite colorful and well photographed. Some more close-ups of flowers, and yet again we have to really try the focus thing properly to get them going. This is a Ferrari, and somehow it didn't come out okay because it was in a shady area with some sun coming from behind, so keep that in mind. Okay, even more shots here, and these are some donuts. I already warned you. Once again, close-ups of this kind taken indoors took me a lot to figure out. This is the panorama, has a small resolution but it's quite clear and the colors were mint here. The temptation is to get a bit burned here, but keep in mind that's where the sun is, so the camera handled it like a champ in the end. Okay, so I promised you there is an extra HDR here that actually worked fine, but before that we have very good selfies. The background looks nice, the hair looks okay, and the skin is also well rendered, so I'm happy with the behavior of the front camera. Okay, even more shots of monuments with excellent details, and that's all during the day. Keep in mind I owe you an HDR shot, should be somewhere around here, and I was happy with it more than the first shot, probably this one here. Overall, quality-wise, I would place this camera on the level of the LG Nexus 5X camera and about 5% less impressive than the Samsung Galaxy A5 or A7 2016. Now, when it comes to the night shots, I mean the low light shots, let's have a look. So, some of the things I've noticed is that we get big street light halos. The shots are a bit on the dark side, but they're reasonably clear for nighttime shots. There's a bit of grain going on and some, as you can see, blur, especially around those halos. And as you can see, the colors remain pretty good, but the clarity and the halos could be a bit better. Something good that I noticed, the flash. The flash was pretty powerful and it was put to work here, making everything a bit more clear. While the outdoors low light shots were good, the indoors one were a bit underwhelming, and I mean those with food, with pasta and donuts, could have been better. Now, when it comes to the video capture, let's see what we're dealing with here. Okay, so camera, and we filmed in Full HD MP4 format, 30 frames per second and 17 megapixel bitrate, and one of the videos looked like this. Good microphone, by the way. The image is a bit burnt. When we start to zoom in, we lose quite a bit of quality. So quality loss is a problem when zooming in. The clarity remains okay. And there's this sudden exposure change which happened with most of the videos. The image is also shaky and a bit artificial looking sometimes. That's probably the video where we can best see the sudden exposure change and the fact that it cannot decide on what exposure to feature. Filming felt a bit like the Huawei Honor models or the last year's Zenphones, and it's a bit below the Samsung Galaxy A 2016 units. During the night time, things dropped a bit. They dropped seriously to 16 frames per second and 10 megapixel in frame rate and bitrate respectively. Okay, so that's the nighttime filming. We got big streetlight halos. The image is yellowish and a bit foggy, but somehow the colors remain decent. It's certainly not a phone you want to take out filming at night, and the video capture feels even a bit below the Allview X3 Soul style, aka the Gionee S6 which we recently reviewed. Somehow, even though there is the same camera, I feel that filming was slightly better. Now, it's time to discuss the connectivity. This is first and foremost a dual SIM phone with LTE category 6, which means up to 300 megapixel downloads. There's a nano SIM and a micro SIM here, HSDPA, Bluetooth 4.0, Wi-Fi BGN, Wi-Fi Direct. We got an USB Type-C port at the bottom, and there is an OTG cable bundled with the phone. In the dialer section, you can find blacklist, speed dial and settings, and the actual calls were clear, they were loud, we got a good microphone and good signal. Let's see how we did in the speed test, because we also did that. Okay, so we achieved 79 megapixel in download and 25 in upload via Wi-Fi. I've seen better than that. I've seen over 100 mega in the download, so could be a bit better. And in the 4G section, the results were, let's find it, 42 megapixel in download and 23 in upload. Quite good, but it depends very much on the area you're in. These are pretty reasonable results, but once again, I've seen better on some other phones. Okay, time to discuss the OS and UI. We're running on Android 6.0 Marshmallow here in a customized version courtesy of Allview. The lock screen includes inspirational messages which lead to the Allview site. Then we get to the actual experience. We got a drop down section with notifications. We got a swipe up section with the, let's say, control center, connectivity options, torch, fake call, super screenshot and more. Swipe up, or better said, keep press the home screen and we can trigger the apps, widgets, which combine the stock ones with beautiful weather and clock 3D ones, and finally effects. I mentioned before swipe up. Yes, you can swipe up and trigger the launcher, edit desktop, search, wallpaper and desktop settings here, as well as system settings. And speaking of settings, let's get to those, and here we go. Here you can find options related to connectivity, display, sound, do not disturb, security, which also includes encryption, fingerprint scanner and a guest mode. So let's set up the screen to be activated with a fingerprint scanner. Okay, we're done, and let's see how that's handled. Let me just double check and see if that's okay. So fingerprint is set up. Next, finger 1, easy unlock and unlock guest mode. So here we go. First you have to activate the phone and then put your finger here and it's all okay. You can directly press the button and get authenticated at the same time. Some phones prefer to have a touch experience directly. You just touch it and it unlocks. Not the case here. Other options, let's go. We got advanced settings. They include smart gestures, smart dial, smart answer, double tap to wake and special gestures, suspend button, and something called the edge bar, which is very easy to activate. You slide your finger like this and you activate the bar of shortcuts. You can slide it like this and activate it in this area. It imitates the Galaxy S Edge models, but no curved edge here, just the feature. Let's see if we missed any settings. So everything checks out. Location, accounts, button setting, I mean the capacitive buttons flanking the home one, and that's pretty much it. The phone also comes with immersive haptic feedback, special vibrations for games, and it has pre-installed 55 games, so yes, quite a bit of bloatware. Excuse me, 55 apps, not games, so keep that in mind. Would be cool to have 55 games, but it would be huge. Who has the time to play them? Anyway, among these apps we have a broad service which plans your trips, Bitdefender mobile security, there's Chameleon which creates themes, there's a child mode, there's Chrome, Facebook, and the Word package, better said Office package, with Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, OneDrive and Skype, all of them bundled with the phone. So it's time for the verdict. The phone is called the Allview X3 Soul Plus. It's the locally integrated version of the Gionee S6 Pro, and here are the pros and cons. On the pro side, it's an elegant phone with a solid build. It doesn't have any lag, has okay performance, comes with a good battery, also nice acoustics, good pictures taken with the main camera and the front camera. It does okay with the connectivity, and it has Office apps bundle, which is always good, and also plays nice with the gaming. Now on the cons side, well, the screen could be a bit brighter. It gets a bit, but only a bit hot when playing games, high intensive games I mean, and the benchmarks are not exactly big, and there's also some lighting problem with the pictures, some of them, dynamic range I mean, and the videos could be a bit better, especially the night ones. And finally, the bloatware may be a bit of a bummer. So the Gionee S6 Pro, or the Allview X3 Soul Plus, as some know it, it's the next level after the X3 Soul Style, which we reviewed recently, and is the Gionee S6s. It's a logical continuation of that model. It's sort of like the combo of Galaxy A5 and Galaxy A7 from Samsung. What's great here? The selfie, the battery, the design, which is elegant, and the Office package and gaming. Basically a solid Samsung Galaxy A rival, priced at only $300. This is it from gsandon.com. This has been the review of the Gionee S6 Pro in the locally integrated Allview X3 Soul Plus version. Bye bye.